Welcome to the Dreams to Profits radio show from Coach on Fire Radio with your host and growth mentor, Natasha Botfield.
Welcome everyone over in Radio Land. I'm so excited to be on today talking with Simone Vincenzi. Hopefully I got that right.
You did. Yeah,
Yay!
You did. Perfect.
He's known as the Experts Strategist, is the co-founder of GTeX, Forbes and Huffington Post contributor, TEDx speaker, and host of the podcast Explode Your Expert Business, and he's the author of 3 life-changing books. So, he is absolutely amazing, and I'm so excited to have him on air today, sharing what we can grasp of the knowledge that he has. Simone, I met you at through Des Laba, and over in the BBS squad, so the Badass Brand Squad, such an exciting group. And I am just astounded by everything you do and everything you create. And I know that my audience will absolutely love to hear everything you're about to share with us. In today's show, I'm going to be hoping that we all get to find out all about how to create, how to fill the event with the right people, how to create high converting offers, and how to convert up to 80% of your attendees. I know when you and I chatted, it was mind-blowing how easy you make this all seem. So tell us, it's crazy. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the show, Natasha. A bit more about me. My background was completely different than speaking and delivering seminars and talks and doing sales training and marketing training. I used to manage restaurants, and I started working as a waiter when I was 14 because my father used to drink a bit too much, and my mom decided to go part ways. And suddenly there was not enough money in the house, so I had to do something. And I still wanted to go out with my friends, and I still wanted to go out and take my girlfriend out for an ice cream. and I found a job in a restaurant as a waiter, and for the first time in my life, I found something I loved, and I was 14. At the time, I hated school, didn't want to go. I hated every single day. And when I found a job in the catering industry, I found that finally I was happy, and I found something I was enjoying doing, that people didn't need to force me to keep going. And I became obsessed about this industry, the catering industry. And at the age of 19, I became the youngest Michelin star restaurant manager in Europe. I was already managing my first Michelin star restaurant at the time. And that's how I ended up here in the UK, because someone saw me in Italy and said, hey, I like your style. I have a Michelin star restaurant in London, in Notting Hill. Do you want to come and work for me? Said, well, I've got nothing to lose. I was 20 years old at the time. And I said, worst case scenario, I'm just going to fly back. Literally. I couldn't be easier to move to another country. I couldn't speak much English, though, at the time, other than, would you like a pizza? Or can I change your fork? Would you like to order a dessert? That was my only English, really. I couldn't have many conversations. But I see the time in the catering industry as my very first public speaking training, which is, now that I reflect back, when you're going to a restaurant, sometimes you need to take an order of a table of 40, 50 people, and you need to grab their attention. You need to explain the menu. You also need to influence their choices, because you cannot have the kitchen having 50 different orders from one table. You would just block the entire restaurant. So then it's persuasion and influence into getting people to more or less order the same things without even realizing it. And that's why I consider that my very first public speaking and selling from the stage kind of training. No, I wasn't selling programs, I was selling pizzas. But that's different. So yeah, that was my background, completely different.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely, and it's so true when you say that, because I come from a serving background as well, and you are creating that experience, you are influencing in everything, like you are in sales 100% as a server.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So how did you get to where you are now?
So what happened when I was 22, I had my first like a middle life crisis. It's very weird saying that, but if you think about it, I already had an 8-year full-time career in the catering industry. I started at 14. At 22, I had this. I already had 8 years career, and I didn't have any degree or any diploma at the time. So when I was looking at what is my next move going to be, where am I going to go next, then suddenly I saw a wall in front of me, because I said, well, the only thing I can do is managing restaurants and being a waiter. I wanted to go and manage a chain of restaurants, which would have been my next career progression, but I didn't have a degree in management. They were looking for a much more qualified individual to manage these larger chains. So I felt that I needed to grow, that I needed to improve, that I needed to sign up for other trainings. And that's where I started attending my first live events here in London. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first event, which ended up being a personal development event. And this new word opened up to me completely. I was like, whoa, what's this? I never heard of this stuff before. And it made me think. It made me reflect about my life choices. Was catering really the industry where I wanted to go? What was my big passion? What did I love to do? And by going to this journey of self-discovery, then I remember I was sitting down in one event one day, and I said, looking at the speaker, this is what I want to do. That's going to be my next career. I'm going to be a speaker. At the time, I didn't even know that there was such a career as a speaker. I just said, that looks cool. You're going around, you talk, I love to talk, and you change lives. I like to be good with people, so it ticks all the boxes for me. And I get to travel a lot at the same time. And I love travel. So that's how I end up where I am. And I started, first of all, getting a diploma in life coaching and youth coaching. I started working in schools because I realized that no one wanted to be coached by a 22-year-old life coach. So, like, what do you have to teach me about life? You just start. And so I said, okay, well, let me start with other people where I can teach them something. And that's how I started going into schools. And at one point I was delivering training in 100 to 150 schools every year from being a trainer for different organizations. And then I started to, at the same time, run my first events. But because I didn't have much to share at the time, I decided to host events. So by attending a lot of seminars, I connected with a lot of speakers. And I said, well, why don't I expose to the people that I know, those people that are changing my life at the moment? And that's how GTeX started. Ben and I sat down one night and we decided to create these events. We invited a bunch of speakers that we knew. We created 7 events. We got a room for free in a farm in the middle of London, in a room called the straw bale room, literally made with straw bale. There were
awesome.
smells of pigs around. It was perfect venue for a personal development event. But that's how we started the journey.
Oh, what an amazing journey that must have been and still is. Like, wow, that's some initiative right there to just take, your passion and just go for it. We need more of that for sure.
You know what? It's not that difficult for me because that's my personality. And I guess I'm very lucky in that sense that I've always done only what I loved, and I've never been afraid to say, let me give it a go. And I have to thank my mom and my dad because they always encourage me. But also I've got this kind of personality that I would just say yes to everything and then go for it, which has a lot of downsides.
Oh, yeah.
But the upside of having this kind of personality is that there is almost nothing that can stop me. I just go and figure it out.
So true. And honestly, like, even I like to live with the whole why not mentality. So why not do it? Why not try it? Why not just go for it? Like, you want to run that event? You want to host that retreat? Why not? Why not just do it? Just try it out, right? Like, it's totally the most freeing lifestyle for sure. So
absolutely.
You have been on stages with Les Brown and a few other large names.
Yeah.
And in front of crowds of 5,000. Like, for so many people on my audience, that would scare the shit out of them.
Yes.
So how did you get to do that? And what was your experience around it?
That's a very good question. So I did event with Les Brown. I organized events for Gary Vaynerchuk. I did event with Simon Sinek, John C. Maxwell. I feel very blessed to have met some of my idols. And the way I got there, literally, is to do by doing a lot of events. I'm not here. I don't have this, great moment where things came into alignment and the stars found the right spot in the sky, and then suddenly I got my place there on that stage. No. By the time I started sharing the stage with those people, I've already done at least 500 events and at least 500 talks. So I was damn good. That's why I ended up having this kind of places, because in our industry there are two ways in which you can share the stage with these big influencers. One is that you pay a lot of money, and it's part of the package that the event organizer will sell. And they don't really care if you're good or not, as long as you pay the $10,000 to $50,000 that are required to speak with these big influencers. Or if you are not paying, then you need to be or at a very high level, or know the organizers very well, and at the same time being damn good on stage, because you are part of that event. And so what happened, for example, with Les Brown is an interesting story, because it's the same story that happened also that got me on the stage with and organizing the event with Gary Vee. Was that I reached out to the organizer. I said, "Hey, organizer, I see you're bringing Les Brown in London. I've been running now more than 400 events, so I know how to run events. Do you need any help?" And I did the same for Gary Vee.
Wow.
And they said, "Yes, please, we need help."
Oh my goodness.
So I started helping them out in the background, not expecting anything in return. I spent hours and hours, organized the teams, organized some of the crew members, making sure that the schedule of the event were running perfectly. And then 2 days, actually a week before the event with Les Brown, the PA of the organizer called me and said, "Would you like to be the MC of the event?"
Oh, wow.
And I was like, hell yeah. I don't even have to think about it. Because I was trained also as a professional MC, and I've MC'd about 100 events by that time. So I knew how to put an event together. So when I stepped on stage, for example, with this Brown event with 1,000 people, I wasn't